think the Nazi officer did anything wrong. So now I'm going to refer back to my response. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So, referring back to my response, I said that the Nazi officer was wrong for separating the mother from her child. A mother's love for her child is endless. If you ever separate a mother from her children in such a way as the officer did, you're heartless. You can see the agonizing pain that the daughter felt as she was being dragged away by the officers. There was no way that she could pick one of these kids that she birthed from her womb and never see them again. And I still stick with that opinion today because no matter like who you work for, you just have to have some type of morals, some good morals that tell you like what you're doing is not right. And the next question, well, it's not really a question, but stage 2 was a peer was supposed to respond to your arguments. So my peer that responded, she said, I agree with what you're trying to say about the cruel situation the Nazi officer placed on the mother. I too disagree with the pain Sophie went through having to choose between her children. For us, it's not morally right. However, if you go into depth about the Nazi's religion, you'll find yourself believing that in his word of worship, he was morally correct. And at this point, I started to take into consideration about what she had said because at the time there was a lot of Nazis, and so what they believed was right, they just went with it, and it wasn't very many people to tell them that they were wrong. Now today we rarely see any Nazis because we call this maybe discrimination, so you won't really see that as much today. And so for me, I did respond to one of my peers, so let me go to her. Okay, so I responded to her opinion and I stated that I strongly agree with your opinion that the officer was not morally correct. However, he thought he was correct and wouldn't allow anyone to plead with him to prove him incorrect. The officer believed that he could lighten the situation by allowing the mother to keep one of the children, but in reality, he was just making matters worse. Based on religion and certain political beliefs, people will have different opinions about the actions taken. So, on this, I still stand with this opinion as well. Because since he was getting paid, he felt that whatever he was told to do, that's all he was going to do, and he wouldn't do anything else but that. So he would only agree with what maybe his commander would tell him to do. So he really couldn't just reach out an olive branch to the woman because he might have gotten fired. So, next is going to be stage 3. So let me go back to that real quick. So stage 3, your peer had to ask you a question and you had to answer it. And my response was, I feel as though if I were in the officer's position, I would allow the mother to keep all of her children. I strongly dislike racism and I think the Nazis were in the wrong. However, others may view it as though the officer was just doing his job. But you must still have morals. I'm sure his occupation was paid very well back then. But this choice just determines what type of human being you are. This is bigger than just who you work for. This tells what you think is morally right and wrong. I would be an understanding officer of the woman's situation and try to put myself in her shoes before I make the decision. And I also stand with this because I feel as though even if your job is on the line, you just have to figure out who you are as a person. You can't really act a certain way on your job and then act a certain way in the world because then you just end up being unhappy. And I agree with Plato's theory that it's the greatest good that makes your life happy. And I just believe that you should just have some type of morals that you were taught from when you were born that tells you what's right and what's wrong and what you should stick to. And finally, we have stage 4.